Hi, I got myself this. It's called a Flash Lube Catch Can Pro bracket and kit, and what it is comes from, it's marketed by Terrain Tamer. It is a catch can, piping, a bracket, and instructions. Now, for those of you who don't understand what a catch can is, there's a little diagram here as well. I'm Andrew St Pierre White. Join me as I share my passion for building four-wheel drive trucks and travelling to the remotest parts of the world. These videos are made possible by contributions from Patreons. Join the Patreon family now. For those of you who don't understand the need for a catch can, some manufacturers fit them to vehicles, but not that many. And the need for one really is, it's the long-term life of the engine. In the short term, even the medium term, it's really going to have a little effect on the engine. But what it does is, because during the cycle of the engine, there are vapors, oil vapors created in the crankcase, and those are vented back into the system. It's in modern engines, they're vented back into the system because of to reduce pollution. But those vapors actually can and do cling to the inside, and this is why it's more prevalent with turbocharged intercooled engines. Those oil particles actually cling to the inside of the intercooler radiator and reduce its efficiency. That is 12,000 kilometers worth of oil that the catch can prevented from vaporizing inside the intercooler. This comes from the Dream Tourer. I fitted exactly the same catch can on when it was brand new, and that shows you. And what we're doing is we're catching those vapors in here. They actually condense and eventually turn into oil that you can drain, so that when that overflow air goes into back into, it's recycled and burnt by the engine, it's clean. Well, much cleaner. And it comes with all the clamps and hoses in the kit. On reading up about it and doing research, if you wanted to do it, supply all the kit yourself, you can obviously do that. But there are a few things to make sure of, and that is that the pipes that you use must not be a smaller diameter than the manufacturer used, because then you will get constriction, you will get a slower air through that part of the system, and that's going to cause problems. Okay, drain. That will be the drain. That'll go on like that with one of those two clamps, and there it is assembled. Simple as that. Yeah. So there then is the completed catch can installation. It took me about 30 minutes to complete. When you take delivery of a Toyota diesel in Australia, you get this little booklet, and it explains the sensitivity of modern common rail diesel engines are to contaminants and water in the fuel, and it's just basically a warning. And really, if you read it, it's saying that if this little logo shines on your dashboard, stop the car, because within a very short period the engine will be damaged, particularly the injectors. It's not that there's anything wrong with the engine. It's not. It's just this. They're covering themselves by saying, you just know that when that comes on, your engine is about to be damaged. So how do I prevent that? I never want that engine to come on. What would cause it to come on would be bad fuel. And if I think about breakdowns I've had over the decades I've been forward driving, fuel is one of those things that can cause it. I've had bad fuel. I remember my Land Rover V8 suffered from, after an extremely long and arduous trip, I had some bad fuel and managed to sort it out. It didn't bring the car to a standstill, but slowed it down considerably. Likewise, in 2013, I was travelling with Paul Marsh, 13 or 14.
It's that tree there.
It is that tree there, isn't it?
Yeah,
We actually were doing a show that day about oil contaminants and things like that, and we had that exact problem. We actually filled up at a fuel station and we had bad fuel in the diesel tank of the Troopcarrier, which had the 4.2 6-cylinder engine.
Or something that's dirty in the fuel. Like normally you just crack this little butterfly at the bottom of the filter and it should run out the hole of the butterfly. The diesel I've got out is actually dribbling out, so I actually think that the filter might be blocked. I can't see it for contaminants, but for sure I want to change the filter.
And we went through the process of sorting ourselves out. Okay, we have a little bit of a problem. The fuel filter was from my previous Land Cruiser, which had exactly the same engine, different filter. This is a newer filter, so the spare part that we've been carrying all this time doesn't fit. So now what I'm doing is brought it into Bailey's Off-Road in Johannesburg. Johannesburg's on my way home, and of course he does carry all the spares, so he's going to just quickly replace the proper filter for me. But what we did to keep the vehicle running, because it got worse and worse and worse, we bought a couple of those and we just took the pipes off the standard filter and put this in line. We of course made sure that the size was correct for the piping, and we put that in and kept going. In these engines, it is true that they are more sensitive than those old engines, and in that situation this engine probably would have stopped. But that engine, like this one, has a pretty good filtration system put in by the manufacturer. But I'm going to make it even better, and every vehicle that I have built, and I know Paul Marsh is exactly the same, every diesel vehicle that he builds for his customers, one of the non-negotiables is you put in a secondary fuel system to catch any of the bad stuff, especially water, first, before it goes to the Toyota original equipment filter, which then feeds the engine. So we're going to do that now, and we're going to use a commonly available kit, and I'm going to fit it myself. Right, now, the instructions. They're not great. They're not great. The instructions are assuming too much. I mean, I know a fair amount of, but there was one thing here that I had to double check, and I know what to do. What about somebody who doesn't know what to do? They're not going to know what review and fittings to flash lube filter assembly. There's my flash lube filter assembly. And there are the bits that I need to fit to it. You need to be clearer. There are two main components: the diesel filter itself and then the bracket kit. These are all Terrain Tamer products, and in the bracket kit comes two brackets. Here they are. The only thing I had to buy in addition to the kit is thread sealant, which must go on the connections, all the connections with the diesel oil filters. So we're going to basically reroute, or if you're in America, reroute the diesel from the tank through this filter back to the original filter. You see, the thing is with instructions, it's not that we don't know or we can't figure it out. Is that if you've got instructions, then you know you've done it right. You know. You don't think, I think I've got it right. That's not good enough. And so, Terrain Tamer, if you see this video, I'm sure by now I've sent you a whole lot of new pictures, because your photographs are absolutely tiny and quite fuzzy. I'll help you out there and send you a few new pictures, because I actually think making this better would actually be quite easy and worth it. I'm not going to do a how-to video right now. That's not my job. There are plenty of videos online about how to fit this specific product into your vehicle. So I'll turn on the camera again when I'm near finished. And there is my installation. It took me about an hour or so to do. I've added markers on the pipes for later diagnostics if I need that. The fuel pipes run behind the intercooler, and I've secured them with additional rubber to protect them from chafing during heavy vibrations. It was a very satisfying thing to do, not difficult at all, so that job is done. I'm also correcting now a shortcoming in the standard airbox. I don't know if you at Toyota, I have no idea if you watch my videos at all, but there is a shortcoming with this filter box. The amount of overlap, the filter is here and the filter sits like that, and that amount of overlap around the side of it, you've got a single piece of rubber stopping all the dust going in. Actually, you don't, because it doesn't stop all the dust going in. And in extremely dusty conditions, these let in dust into the engine. They're not efficient. They're good size, but they're not efficient in terms of the way they seal and clean the air. So again, third-party manufacturers to the rescue, coming up with a solution to the problem. This is not an expensive solution, and it does the job very, very well. It's basically a gasket, and I glue the gasket, if I remember correctly, I'll have a look at the instructions, on the inside of there. And that basically just increases the surface area on which the seal, it'll make the seal squeeze harder and increases the surface area on the top here. That's very, very narrow. So it's a shortcoming, and I happen to know about it, and I didn't know about it in 2017 when I took my Troopcarrier across Australia, 18, and went to visit John Ruthie, and I had a warning light come on, and I told him about it, and he knew exactly what it was without even thinking. He said, I know what that is, let's sort it, and he did. This is four-wheel drive Aussie legend John Ruth, aka Ruthie. I've just popped in for a quick visit.
Cool, look at that.
Yeah.
Well, see that thing there with the wires
That's
going
the
into
sensor.
it?
John is helping me with a minor problem that I've had with my truck. Dust.
Gets a bit of dust on it. It's got like a little vein underneath, a couple of little veins.
Yeah.
And when they get dirty, the sensor starts showing faults. Do you mind if I rip this off?
Rip it off. Rip it off.
Look at this. First modification.
He sorted it out by doing some modifications to the air filter. This is now a permanent modification that I will fit. And it comes with instructions. That's the element there. I'm not going to use the element now because I'm going to use the new element, so I'll keep that for later. And it works with the original equipment element, which is good. And I just need to read the instructions, and it comes with some sealant somewhere. Aha, there it is. Right. So think about this. Next time you're doing a service on your cruiser, get the Terrain Tamer kit. You need to buy the filter anyway, and just get the insert. It's all included, and sort out any potential issues that you might have later. And if you put silicone on, this actually looks like a stainless steel, so it wouldn't apply in this case. But if you use silicone on steel, it causes it to rust very, very rapidly because it's acidic. I've seen some conversions done to cars, and they've used silicone to bond on steel. A really bad idea, because it just rusts. So the suggestion is you put it back and you let it cure in place, because by letting it cure in place, you're basically clamping it with the forces that you'll end up with. So put this back in here. Now the last thing I have to do is prime the system. It should take not much more than 5 or so minutes. But if you decide to do this modification yourself and not buy the kit, buy your own hoses, be very aware that non-compatible hoses, diesel fuel compatible hoses, put in the wrong hoses, the system will fail. Not if, it will fail, because diesel eats a lot. It eats almost anything. So it's very corrosive, So there, my work on the engine is just about done. Questions that you may have: will I be chipping it? Well, here's my attitude to chips. Some are rubbish. Some are very well developed, and they while they do increase performance and even decrease fuel consumption, possibly can damage the engine. Okay, and so I'm very conservative. And in my last Troopcarrier, I put in a Unichip, and I would do that again tomorrow. But Unichip is no longer available in Western Australia. And the reason why I trust Unichip, I know the owner of the company.
Most people are aware of what a chip means. And that has long changed since the original days of a chip, where you actually change the chip in the computer box to reprogram the performance parameters of it. Our product, we call it a Unichip, giving the implication that it's a universal chip. In other words, it can do what all other chips can do combined. Plus, it can do a lot more.
I've worked with him on a number of projects, and I understand his mindset, his approach, and it's conservative. The performance gains are significant. I loved driving my Troopcarrier using that extra power. It was marvelous. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put it onto maximum power, and I'm going to go onto the highway. I can accelerate to 100 kilometers an hour, and I have no idea what to expect. I'm doing 90. 90 k's on the clock, and let's see how fast it takes to get to 100. 100. Troopcarriers are not supposed to do this. But unless I know that whatever I do cannot possibly affect the vehicle's reliability long term, I won't do it. The V8's nice powerful engine. It's not this vehicle is not underpowered for the job it's got to do. So why do it? So that's where I am at the moment, and I will consider a chip, but right now I don't have an alternative to the Unichip available to me, so I don't have an alternative. The other question might be, will you change the exhaust pipe, DPF, remove the DPF? Now, I have had no issues at all with the DPFs in my Land Cruisers, ever. And it is a minor inconvenience occasionally. It's only happened to me twice where it had to do a regenerating thing, only twice, and it's a small price to pay for keeping the air out of the exhaust cleaner. I think it's good that we reduce emissions on cars. I would drive an electric Overlander in a heartbeat if I could get my hands on one. So, and the idea of making it noisier, I'm completely not interested in I'd like to make it quieter. I'm not interested. That's a long time ago that might have appealed to me. Right now, not in the slightest. I hope you've enjoyed this series of videos. Thank you for watching. Thank you so much for watching. These videos are made possible by contributions from Patreons. Join our Patreon family now.